All right, so I wanted to kind of cover Marine Corps PLC or Marine Corps Platoon Leaders class today because I do think it's a program that is not widely known or easily understood by most. I think for the most part, when people think about becoming an officer in any branch, but especially with the Marine Corps, they just think, Marine Corps the Marine option for NROTC. However, I did want to talk about Marine Corps PLC, like I said, Platoon Leaders class, and just kind of share with you guys everything you need to know about the program, just so you can gain a bit more exposure. If you're somebody who's interested in becoming an officer in the Marine Corps, I highly suggest you consider the Platoon Leaders class route. So in this video, I really want to talk, like I said, about PLC, but specifically the timeline breakdown. So timeline being the 4 years that you're in college, the way that basically the training fits into your school, routine, your 4 years of obtaining a bachelor's degree. Then I want to talk about lifestyle, what it's like being in PLC while in college, like the day-to-day. Then just the obligation incurred. So generally speaking, what you will owe time and service wise following graduation. And then lastly, the tuition and monetary benefits that most people are interested in, obviously, in relation to, or I guess I should say, in comparison to, NRTC, because obviously that covers your entire tuition, which is obviously a burden or a load off, I should say, when it comes to paying for college. So, like I said, that's kind of going to be the breakdown of this video. Just want to go over everything as a whole, help you guys better understand the PLC program. All right, so like I said, PLC is another path to becoming an officer in the Marine Corps. This is a path that only college students are eligible to take. There is a program after college, which is not PLC. It's called OCC. But like I said, this PLC is for college students alone. For those who are currently in college, freshmen, sophomore, and juniors can apply to be part of this program. Now, the timeline breakdown, basically, you have, like I said, you have freshman year, sophomore year, and junior year to apply. So if you were a freshman, you would apply, right when you got to school. Again, any school, as long as you have a recruiting center in your area, you can go to any school. You're not limited to the schools, the colleges that you're looking at, or you're not limited to, I should say, a specific number of colleges like ROTC, because obviously all schools don't offer the ROTC program. With PLC, you can go anywhere, so long as you have a recruiting center in the vicinity, which for the most part is not too much of an issue, because that's how PLC recruits, is obviously being near large universities. So as a freshman, when you first enter college, you're able to apply for the program. You can apply for the program, and basically from the start of your freshman year until the start of the summer, I believe there are 3 boards, or basically, selection boards, but basically opportunities to get picked up for the program. So similar to ROTC, even similar to college admission, what you do is you create an application. You will take a number of different physical tests. So not only like an actual PFT or physical fitness test, but also you'll go through a medical screening process. You'll go through a body fat composition test. And basically you'll be creating an application that will be put forth in front of a selection board of various selection officers and current members in the Marine Corps. And like I said, you have 3 opportunities essentially to be selected on those boards. If, for example, you're not picked up on a selection board, if your application is not chosen for the program, your application then rolls over to the next selection board, and it keeps rolling over until you're no longer eligible to be looked at the boards. So like I said, I believe you have 3 opportunities each school year to be selected on one of those boards. So as a freshman, let's say that you are selected on one of the 3 boards. and you're now a member of the PLC program, you will be attending juniors and seniors of officer candidate school. So PLC juniors and PLC seniors are basically two 6-week increments at OCS or officer candidate school that you will be attending. So like I said, if you're selected your freshman year, that summer, the summer after your freshman year of college, you'll attend your first 6-week increment at officer candidate school in Quantico, Virginia. And if you're unfamiliar with what officer candidate school is, basically what it is it's boot camp for officers, more or less. I can't speak on behalf of what boot camp is like. I've never been, but generally speaking, it's just an evaluation time for officer candidates, those who want to be officers in the Marine Corps. You're tested, put under pressure. They want to see how you perform, under stress. So like I said, basically like an officer boot camp type experience. But that will be, that first increment would be after your freshman year. Now, again, if you were picked up and selected during your freshman year, that would be your first half of OCS. So that would be, your first 6-week increment. But you have to do 2 6-week increments at OCS. So you would have the summer after your freshman year, and then the summer after your junior year, where you would again return to officer candidate school to complete your second increment of officer candidate school, which would be seniors, PLC seniors. So that second leg of the 2 6-week program or OCS increments. So let's say you were to apply your freshman year and you were not selected on one of the 3 boards, leading up to the summer. You obviously would not attend OCS the summer after your freshman year. Let's say that you were selected during your sophomore year, selected on one of the 3 boards. In this case, you would again do the same 2 6-week increments, and you would basically do 6-week increment 1 the summer right after your sophomore year, and then the second 6-week increment right after your junior year. So 2 summers in a row, you'd be going to OCS for 6 weeks. Now, juniors, this is your last opportunity to attend. You also don't have 2 summers until you graduate, ideally graduate, and receive your bachelor's degree, your 4-year bachelor's degree. So if you are selected during your junior year, you, instead of attending 2 6-week increments, you'll attend 1 10-week combined course, PLC combined, the summer after your junior year. So the summer right before your senior year, you would go to 10 weeks of OCS. In my case, that's what I'll be doing this summer. So like I said, I applied my junior year, the beginning of my junior year. I got selected on the first board that I believe was in November. And so from now, since I was notified, I am now aware that this summer I will be attending officer candidate school, this upcoming summer. So that's kind of the timeline breakdown. Like I said, if you're selected during your freshman or sophomore year, you'll go to 2 6-week increments of OCS. And if you're selected during your junior year, you'll go to just 1 10-week increment. So on to the next piece that I wanted to really chat about, which I think a lot of people are often wondering, the lifestyle while in college. So I think that for the most part, ROTC is what's widely known in college as the way of becoming an officer, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video. But with ROTC, it is, I'll say it's definitely a lifestyle shift, and it's pretty involved. It's more than a club. It's really, a very extensive extracurricular in college. And PLC is really not that. So with ROTC and ROTC, you take classes, you attend PT events, you're wearing your uniform, you're doing a number of different things that pertain to the program. With PLC, you don't take any additional classes, nor are you ever wearing any type of uniform, because you're not getting your uniform until you go to OCS anyways. And PT is really, it's on your own it's your own responsibility. The understanding is that you're going to get it done because you need to be in shape for OCS, and obviously if you aren't, then you're going to get your butt whooped and probably will have a really tough time with it. So basically PLC, the lifestyle is normal college. There's really no differences than the average college student. I think the difference, of course, would be the summers, in which case most kids are working or screwing around. You're going down to, Virginia to train to become an officer in the Marine Corps, and that is very different. Certainly will be a culture shock for those of you who aren't prepared for it, and who aren't just in the mindset of, being ready for that type of, hectic, chaotic environment. So I do strongly urge you to, if you're not, already, start training, not just from a physical standpoint, but, kind of getting your mind right mentally, being able to understand and cope with pressure, kind of, like I said, just kind of prepping yourself for that. But, aside from that, what I really was trying to get to there was that the lifestyle is pretty much the same in normal college. I will say that there are what's called Pulley Events, and generally speaking, your recruiter will reach out or offer, various like PT, events where, all the kids who are recruited as PLC candidates, they'll come together and, do PT sessions together. It really depends on your recruiting center. In my case, I'm in New York, so our OSO, Officer Selection Officer, he usually comes to our school because it's pretty hard to navigate through Manhattan and through the Bronx and such. So he comes there, and we all wake up, like this once a week, we all wake up and PT together, me and the other PLC candidates at my school. But like I said, aside from those, which even those are occasional and not really on a consistent basis for the average PLC group, sometimes it's once a week, sometimes it's once every 2 weeks. Some recruiting centers kind of just do it sporadically. So like I said, it doesn't really get in the way of anything in terms of college classes. It's a very minimal time commitment. So the obligation incurred. So the obligation that you're going to incur if you decide to go the PLC route, what I really should say is, first off, just by going to OCS or signing on your contracts and whatnot whenever you apply for PLC, you're actually not obligated to anything. And I know that sounds kind of weird because you think when you sign a contract you are obligated to service. Well, even if you go to OCS and are paid for OCS, you're actually not obligated to any service. All right. So by going through OCS with PLC, you simply, once you graduate, have the option to become an officer, but you don't have to. So like I said, I know that sounds kind of weird because with like ROTC, right when you graduate, you owe the time back, right? With PLC, you have the option to become an officer or the option not to. And, whatever you choose, like I said, is your choice. I don't know anybody who'd go to OCS and then, graduate and decide that they're not up for being an officer. Doesn't really make sense to me, but I don't know, maybe there's somebody out there who's done that. So when you graduate, basically, like I said, you have the option to either become an officer or not become an officer. If you do become an officer, from there you will be signing an obligation type contract, which for the most part, and this kind of varies slightly depending on what tuition assistance you accept, but generally it's about 3.5 to 4 years for ground contracts, and I believe it's 6 to 8 years for aviation contracts. So when you sign up for PLC, there are two options. I should say two main options. There are actually some a bit more specific options. I believe there's a PLC law, but I know that there's PLC reserves. And if you want more information on that, I definitely suggest you look it up online because I don't really have a whole lot of information on it. But I know that the general routes, the active routes anyways, are either ground contract or aviation contract. So that's why, like I said, the time obligation varies because basically, not only are they different, of course, with ground and aviation, but aviation requires a lot more schooling and a lot more training in order to become an aviator. And that time in school does not count towards your obligation in terms of service. With ground, the schooling is a lot less. So your MOS school, or basically the job that you want to do in the Marine Corps, is a lot less than it would be if you do aviation. But like I said, those obligations, if you decide to become an officer once you graduate, you're looking at about 4 years for the 4 years of active duty for the ground component, and 6 to 8 years active aviation. And there's a bit of reserve time usually owed after those obligations as well. But reserve time is really not overly difficult. But for the most part, what you should understand is that it's going to be about 3.5 to 4 years active, or 6 to 8 active, and that being on the aviation side. So lastly is the tuition and monetary benefits. Obviously, when you're looking at these decisions, the tuition and monetary benefits should not be priority number one. However, I do understand that college is expensive, and it doesn't make sense not to do a program without, or I should say, it doesn't make sense not to at least explore the various opportunities you may have to get part of your school or all of your school paid for. So unfortunately, PLC will not pay for all of your school, likely, unless you have scholarships elsewhere and you're able to pile them up together. PLC is said to offer, I believe it's up to a little over $15,000 of tuition assistance. That's over the course of 4 years, not in 1 year nor in one semester. So I think it's up to $15,600 for 4 years, which I think whatever comes out to basically a little over $2,000, because you usually don't get paid for the first semester of your freshman year if you were selected as a freshman. So yeah, it comes out to, in 7 semesters, a little over $2,000 per semester. What you have to understand with that tuition assistance is optional, but if you do sign up for that tuition assistance, you then are mandated or required to accept your commission when you graduate. You have automatically basically signed on the obligation, and as such, you'll owe an additional 6 months of active duty on top of your already obligation if you accepted the commission without the tuition assistance. So just scenario wise, like I said, if I accepted the tuition assistance, I would owe 6 additional months on top of my, what I'm looking to do is ground, on top of my 3.5 years, pulling me closer to 4, potentially a little bit over 4 years. Now, just so you guys are aware, I know this is sometimes a question. $15,000. If I accept, let's say, only 1 year's worth of that $15,000, so whatever, 2,000, or let's say 4,000 for just my senior year, I still owe 6 months extra. If I started that tuition assistance my freshman year, and I got all that money, which would be a lot more than 4,000, closer to the 15,000 mark, I would still owe just the 6 months. It doesn't work in the way of accepting more money means more time. So I know that's sometimes a question, and I would definitely suggest talking to your recruiter about that. But my recruiter told me that the way it works is that the second you accept money, you get the 6 months extra. If you're a junior, if you want the extra money, go for it. But if not, maybe it doesn't make sense to take the 6 months. Whereas as a freshman, it does, because it's a lot more money accrued over time. Secondly, you're paid to go to OCS. So for the two increments, PLC juniors and seniors, you'd be paid a little over $3,000 per increment. I think it's $3,300. So you'd be looking at about $6,600 for the two increments total. And if you do one 10-week period, the PLC combined, you're paid $5,500, I believe, $5,500 for that 10 weeks of training. And then lastly, and this is actually the most important, which is another thing people don't understand, is you will accrue longevity. So longevity is time in service. What that means is basically if you're a freshman and you're accepted in the program and you attend OCS that summer, from the second that you start OCS, so long as of course you finish OCS, from the second you start OCS, the summer of your freshman year, you're technically a member of the service. Now, you're not getting paid as a as an actual, like, let's say, officer in the military per se, nor are you accruing time towards your GI benefits, but what you are accruing is time in service, excluding, I should say, those benefits and that pay, so that whenever you are commissioned as an officer, once you graduate, while most of your peers, especially if they're ROTC individuals, if they or once they're paid, their pay will be O1 with 0 years or 1 year of experience. Whereas in your case, you will be an O1, which is the first rank of officer, with 3 years of experience. So you're probably wondering, what does it matter how much experience? Well, the way the military pay scale works is that you're paid, like each rank is paid based on their experience. So an O1, which like I said is the first rank of officer, which in the Marine Corps' case is the second lieutenant, there's a certain pay per month for second lieutenants who have 0 to 2 years worth of experience. And then there's another number, a certain specific number for second lieutenants who have, I think it's 2 to 4 years of experience. That number increases based on your experience. So if you started the PLC program and you were accepted as a freshman, went to OCS your freshman, the summer after your freshman year, you would have about 3 years of experience, meaning that you'd be making, I don't know what it comes out to at the end of the year, but it's a couple thousand more, maybe 5,000 to 10,000 more, maybe a little bit less. I don't know about 10,000, but I'm sure it's around at least 5,000 more than everybody else, all your other friends who will also be second lieutenants, newly minted second lieutenants. So that additional money is obviously, kind of nice. So that's something that's important because people don't realize that, especially the ROTC individuals. Not that it's a make or break, but it's kind of just an added perk to the PLC program. So I hope that covers everything. For the most part, I think that I tried to really hone in on all the different areas of the PLC program. Like I said, that timeline breakdown, the lifestyle, the obligation you incur, and then the tuition and monetary benefits. I know this video was kind of long. It's a lot of me talking. So hopefully I can break it down based on when I start talking about each topic. And just lastly, if you guys do have any questions about the program, want me to make any other videos, just feel free to reach out. I know I do, some videos that are more like physical training based, because obviously that's important for the Marine Corps, but I do like to do informational videos as well, just so you can understand programs, and kind of go from there, in terms of signing up for those programs and such. I will just add lastly, if you are considering applying for the PLC program, all you need to do is look for a Marine Corps recruiting center that's in your area. You can just go on like Google, check out Marine Corps recruiting center near me. Reach out to the recruiting center, whether it be, email, phone number, whatever, and talk to what's called an officer selection officer. They'll help you get set up, get started with the application process. They'll also go in depth as to everything I basically just said. They'll talk more, more about each element of PLC and what's required from you and what they can, kind of offer you, which, the most important thing being the opportunity to become an officer in the United States Marine Corps, which very few people are able to say that they have, been granted the opportunity to do so and to serve in that capacity. So thanks for watching the video, guys. Again, if you have any questions, want me to cover any further areas, just reach out and I'd be happy to kind of go over everything and go from there. So that's all I got, guys. I'll see you in the next one.